Hi there, I'm Professor Blackmore, and welcome back to my channel and to another episode in my podcast series entitled Woman Evolve, the ProfessorBlackmore.com pre-show. And I'm coming back to you today with part C in this multi-part episode to analyze what happened to Pastor Toure's first wife, Lori Roberts, during the divorce decree phase of the divorce dissolution court case litigation.
And then you get the religious people who condemn divorcees, of which I am, not for long. Hello, somebody. Look, this is transparency. I'm being transparent tonight. You don't like it, you can go home. I'm being honest with you. Being honest.
In addition, I will endeavor to analyze how Pastor Toure immediately began to use the pulpit to spin the meaning of the covenant of holy matrimony to justify his divorce from Sister Lori Roberts when he dumped her, allegedly, to marry his 16-year younger tenderoni and so-called soulmate Sarah Jakes.
I've never preached on soulmates because, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about soulmates. I didn't know if there was a soulmate, if there was such a thing. I didn't know. I had no context. I just figured, look, you hook up with somebody, you try to make the best of it.
In addition, I will also endeavor to analyze what happened to Lori Roberts and how she's been doing since the divorce decree was signed by the judge, at which time when Pastor Toure married Sarah Jakes within approximately 30 days of the judge signing said divorce decree.
It took me some time to really embrace our differences in ministry and womanhood, whatever.
And so, let's get started. Now, in the first two parts of this episode series, we established that Pastor Toure and Sister Sarah claimed that they met in February of 2014 when they were introduced to each other by her mystery business partner. And I guess it must have been love at first sight because around the same time, allegedly, on or about February the 7th, 2014, Pastor Toure filed for divorce from his wife, Lori Roberts. Now, isn't that a coincidence? And while all of this was going on, Pastor Toure sought to justify his actions by preaching about his love affair and further embarrassing his wife, Sister Lori, as not being his soulmate.
I've never preached on soulmates because, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about soulmates. I didn't know if there was a soulmate, if there was such a thing. I didn't know. I had no context. I just figured, look, you hook up with somebody, you try to make the best of it. I don't know how you define the hookup, so maybe I need to qualify that. But I just figured, hey, look, you like me, I like you. We have chemistry. I'm going to talk about chemistry in a little while. But we have chemistry, and so that means that we're supposed to be together. And let's do this thing. Let's make a life together because we got chemistry. I didn't know. I'm serious. And so I'll be honest with you. I'll be very transparent tonight. I recently discovered the reality of soulmates. It is real.
Now, clearly he's implying that his wife, at the time that he's speaking, Lori Roberts, is not his soulmate. He's still married to her, and he thinks this is the best time to arrogantly make these proclamations while laughing about it in church and all throughout the internet and social media. And quite frankly, while you think it's funny, we all know you know what a hookup is, because this whole soulmate story screams hookup. Oh, but anyway, y'all. And after receiving this life-altering revelation and discovery of this so-called soulmates phenomenon that he claims he never knew anything about, parenthetically, until he met Sister Sarah, a discovery that he's now trying to make people believe is biblical. Well, when the divorce was not coming to a conclusion fast enough, based on Sister Lori's own words in her declaration on file with the court, Pastor Toure sought to expedite her to bring about the conclusion of the proceedings by refusing to continue paying his family financial obligations and by having his cousin to serve an oral 30-day eviction notice on her, which is not legal, evicting her from the home where she was residing with the children. And as we covered in part B of this podcast series, this caused Sister Laura to have to file a motion for request for order on the issues of temporary child custody, child support, family support, and spousal support with the court in an effort to compel Pastor Toure to continue carrying out his family financial obligations. And in her declaration supporting this motion, Sister Lori reveals that she and Pastor Toure ceased to live together as husband and wife in March of 2013, which is around the same time that the court signed the divorce decree dissolving the marriage between Sister Sarah Jakes and her former spouse, former NFL Redskins player Robert Henderson. And now I guess this is also a coincidence. Now, Sister Lori filed this motion and supporting declaration on September the 19th, 2014, just days before the time when it is reported that, quote, Toure proposed to Sister Sarah on September the 22nd, 2014, over dinner, where he slipped an expensive diamond on Jake's finger that he purchased while the two were in Maui, end quote. Now, in her declaration, Sister Lori reports, quote, that on Thursday, September the 11th, 2014, I received word from Pastor Toure's cousin that he notified the landlord of the Encino property that I needed to be out of the house by October the 12th, 2014. Pastor Toure has not notified me of this unilateral decision that he made, end quote. Now, if you think Pastor Toure must have really been feeling himself at this time and he couldn't possibly get any more arrogant, then you better think again.
So you've got two types of relationships. You've got relationships that God has put you in, and you got relationships that you put yourself in. You got two types of marriages. Marriages that God has joined together and marriages that you have joined together. Oh, it's quiet. I mean, seriously. The Bible says what God has joined together, let not man put asunder. And there's an assumption there that is saying that God has put together every person who gets married, every couple that gets married. Oh, don't. I'm just being honest with you. And then you get the religious people who condemn divorcees, of which I am, not for long. Hello, somebody. Look, this is transparency. I'm being transparent tonight. You don't like it, you can go home. I'm being honest with you. Being honest.
Now, clearly, you don't know the definition of the word divorcee, baby boy, because the word means a divorced person. And so, I don't know how you can say you won't be a divorcee for long when you're still one. And I really hope nobody's buying this self-indulged campaign to mask the fact that you made a promise, a covenant of marriage before God. But now you want to break that promise by saying that because you think God didn't put it together, you can now just break that covenant. And let me give you the definition of another word, Pastor Toure, that you clearly seem not to know the meaning. And that is a covenant, which is a promise. And so, What you're actually preaching is that if you come to a unilateral conclusion that God didn't put two people together, then whatever promises they make to each other in covenant before God, well, they are just null and void. And you can just make and break all the promises you want because God didn't put them together. And I just think that anybody with basic sense knows that this is a bunch of BS. I mean, just because you're reading a scripture does not make it applicable. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder, has nothing to do with the basic question of whether people are going to abide by their covenant promises or not. Clearly, this is nothing more than distracting busy talk to distract people from focusing on what's really going on. And the so-called religious people, of which you should also be one of if you claim to be a Christian, well, the religious people should condemn you. And so although she may not have thought so at the time, clearly the Lord delivered Sister Lori from this mess and all of this foolishness from this foolish individual. And suffice it to say that when she filed this declaration with the court, she got everybody's attention, including yours, Pastor Toure, because the parties were able to reach an agreement which was incorporated in their divorce decree that was signed by the judge on October the 22nd, 2014. And Pastor Toure was also delivered from what he called a bad marriage.
So you get religious people who say, because you got a divorce, you're breaking what God has joined together. It's not true. It says what God has joined together, let not man put asunder. Well, what if man puts something together? Then come on now. It's real talk. And I say that to someone who might be here, and you may be divorced. And you may still be carrying guilt, weight, and shame. Hello, somebody. Because you got divorced. Let me tell you something. Divorce isn't the problem. Bad marriages are the problem. Marriages that God didn't put together, those are the problems. Divorce is just the byproduct. It's just the fruit of a marriage that God didn't join together. Now, you've got couples that give up before they grow up. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that you've got to make sure before you get married that this is the person that God has chosen for you. It's very important. Because if it isn't, and one day you discover your purpose, because who God is joining together for you, it's all about purpose. It's not about your happiness. It's not because you just love. You don't get married because you love. Love is in it, but that's not why you get married. You get married because you know that this is the person that God has chosen for you. And if this is the person that God has chosen for you, you will have love. But love doesn't lead you. A revelation leads you.
Okay, Pastor Toure, no, baby boy. Religious people, i.e. Christians, are not saying because you got a divorce, you're breaking what God has put together. What we're saying is, irrespective of who put it together, you made a promise, a covenant of marriage. Now, are you going to keep your promises or not? Or are you going to try to use this flimsy excuse to make and break promises willy-nilly? This just goes to basic character. And I wonder if Sister Lori now thinks that God did not join her marriage. And maybe she does at this point. But I really would like to know what she thinks about this. And so, as we now know, after the divorce was finalized on October the 22nd, 2014, barely 30 days later, Pastor Toure and Sister Sarah were married on November the 23rd, 2014. And as such, I want to take a closer look at said divorce decree so we can see just how much attention Sister Lori got out of the explosive allegations she made in her declaration, which I covered in full length in part B of this podcast series. So if you want to get caught up on all that she had to say, please watch my prior episode in this series. And so again, the divorce decree reflects, quote, that Pastor Toure and Sister Lori were married on December the 30th, 1995 and separated on March 1st, 2013. And again, around the exact same time a year prior, on February the 4th, 2013, the judge in Tarrant County, Texas, is signing Sister Sarah's divorce decree, wherein she is granted a name change, changing her name back to Sarah Jakes. And so, now we have Pastor Toure's divorce decree, which reflects that Sister Lori was awarded spousal support commencing on November the 1st, 2014, in the amount of $5,100 per month for a period of 6 months through April the 30th, 2015, and then commencing on May the 1st, 2015, Sister Lori was awarded spousal support in the amount of $4,080 per month for 60 months, in other words, 5 years, until October the 31st, 2019. And ladies and gentlemen of this church house jury, I ain't done yet with Sister Lori's spousal support, because she was further awarded spousal support thereafter in the amount of $4,080 per month commencing on November the 1st, 2019 and continuing until one of the following 3 events should occur. Number 1, if Sister Lori should remarry. Number 2, if either party should die. Or number 3, if there should be any further order of the court. Yes, indeed, Sister Lori. And I'll tell you one thing, if I'm her, I would never remarry any damn body. And so, this means that unless she gets remarried or unless Pastor Toure dies, she will remain on Pastor Toure and Sister Sarah's payroll forever. And based on the plain reading of this, even if Pastor Toure and Sister Sarah divorce, Sister Lori will still remain on his payroll unless he goes back into the court and requests a modification of the divorce decree. And so, for all of you in my comments talking about how Sister Lori and Sister Sarah are friends because you see them laughing and talking on Sister Sarah's Woman Evolve podcast, well, to that I say, they might as well be friends, because if my ex-husband and his new wife had me on their payroll paying me a salary every month until I die or remarry, I would be friends with her ass too.
I think that like when you're blending a family and you're having this dynamic with the other woman, another woman, you know that you have to like really trust who you are and honor that other woman. That's the part that's rough, is like honoring the other woman, because it's almost like I don't want to betray myself by saying that like I see why everybody like her, you know. You know, like whatever, like yeah, sure, she's nice, like cool, okay, you do feel like warmth when she's around, but like whatever, I don't like the sun.
You know what? But that's so true. And it took me some time to really embrace our differences in ministry and womanhood, whatever, you know what I mean? But to embrace and then love it, you know, like I love, like, you know, coming to your conferences and tour dates and things like that. I love coming to the house and just doing family stuff. I loved planning Ren's wedding with you and having some, you know, experiencing some of those celebrations. You know what I mean? Like, so it happens over time, you know, as you just, I think you have to have an openness and a willingness.
Now, this is what I will say. I bet you one thing, it would not have taken me any time to embrace that $4,080 per month for life. I guarantee you, if it were me, it would have been love at first sight. You can believe that, Sister Sarah. Oh, but anyway, y'all, let me stay focused, because in addition to spousal support almost damn near forever in perpetuity, Sister Lori was also awarded additional support inasmuch as Pastor Toure was ordered to maintain for the benefit of Sister Lori a death benefit life insurance policy in the event of his death in the amount of $250,000 allocated directly to Sister Lori. And as you can see here, the insurance policy was already purchased because they already had the policy number here as reflected in the divorce decree. So just wrap your mind around that. Notwithstanding the fact that spousal support under the terms of the divorce decree will cease if Pastor Toure should die, the benefit is indemnified by a life insurance policy that he is ordered to maintain, which Sister Lori is the sole beneficiary in the amount of $250,000. You got that? Or are you listening, Sister Sarah? But I ain't done yet, because Sister Lori was also awarded child support in the amount of $2,400 per month, in addition to 2/3 of the children's unreimbursed healthcare expenses per month until the children reach age 18. And she was receiving child support until October the 29th, 2020, when the youngest child turned age 18. But I ain't done yet, in the blessed name of Jesus, because you'll remember how Pastor Toure tried to evict Sister Lori from the house where she was living with the children when he had his cousin to call her up on the phone on September the 11th, 2014 and tell her that she needed to be out of the house in 30 days. Well, Sister Lori was also awarded further family support to be paid by Pastor Toure in the amount of $3,700 to be paid before September the 30th, 2014, and an additional $2,500 to be paid on or before October the 15th, 2014. And in addition, Pastor Toure was ordered to pay Sister Lori's first month's rent and security deposit to secure living accommodations for her and the minor children not to exceed $7,500, which was ordered to be paid by Pastor Toure on or before October the 1st, 2014. And so I will say that Sister Lori did quite well. And if I were her, I would be laughing in my damn sleep. Now, I cannot tell you how many divorces I've done over my career as an attorney. There are many parts and much paperwork that goes on in the background that the public will never see. And many times in a divorce this complex, you may even have a mediation with two attorneys and a mediator that results in a separate confidential settlement agreement with a confidentiality clause, i.e. a NDA, or what we may call a non-disclosure agreement, aka a hush money agreement. And so it is very possible that the terms of Pastor Toure and Sister Lori's settlement includes some kind of confidentiality agreement. I just think that Pastor Toure did not factor in is the fact that Sister Lori seemed to have the better attorneys. I mean, as you can see in this agreement, all of the terms, the life insurance policy, indemnifying, the spousal support, I mean, these are just good attorneys that she had. In addition to the fact that Pastor Toure didn't factor in the fact that that Lori's attorneys would be so smart as to file this declaration with the court that puts all of their damn business out in the streets. And she actually did not do that until he forced her hand to have to do it when he decided that he wanted to try to expedite her into giving him a divorce by not continuing to pay his family financial obligations. And so that is the reason that, you know, all of his business is out here in the streets. And for some reason, he didn't have good enough attorneys. I guess I'm just, I'm not really. But his attorneys could have had this information sealed somehow, but it's all out there in the street, which in turn gives me the ability to be able to bring it to all of you, my lovely guests here on YouTube. You're welcome. And so we're at the end of story time, and they all lived happily ever after because Pastor Toure and Sister Sarah did in fact get married on November the 23rd, 2014. Meanwhile, Sister Lori was chilling at her new crib, laughing all the way to the damn bank. And as you can see here, Lori went on a campaign to improve her physical fitness. She also continues her church worship ministry and other empowerment uplift activities. Her oldest daughter was married a few years ago, and Sister Lori was snatched at the time. And so I would say that Sister Lori did very well in the divorce decree in spite of what she had to go through. But I can't see how she did not think to herself at some point, now, was this 2013 separation brought on by the revelation that my husband fell out of love on his own? Or was it a coincidence that Sister Sarah's divorce just happened to become final around the same time? Well, I don't know. But what do you think? Do you think that it's highly suspicious that Sister Sarah gets divorced in February of 2013 and Pastor Toure separates from his wife around the exact same time in March of 2013? Meanwhile, everybody's distracted with this probably staged initial meeting that took place in early February 2014 that they keep talking about, trying to make everybody think they first met or first started dating in the spring of 2014. Please let me know what you think by leaving your comments in the comments section below. And I hope you'll also give me a big thumbs up. And I hope you'll also consider donating to this video and my entire channel ministry by donating to the ProfessorBlackmore.com Cash App. And I hope you'll also subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell so you'll be notified whenever I come back with more hot tea from the courthouse, the church house, and everywhere else. And whenever I come back with more episodes in my podcast series entitled Woman Evolve, the ProfessorBlackmore.com pre-show. And please also follow me on TikTok and Instagram.